Welcome to Cherry Hill Tuition, where incredible results are achieved. In this mathematics tutorial, I will cover some of the excellent processes used by Cherry Hill to achieve the highest grades. Let's get started. So the quadratic formula is used to solve for unknowns in a quadratic equation. So the quadratic formula is x is equal to minus b plus and minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. The plus and the minus simply mean that there are two possible values for x. The first one being x is equal to minus b plus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a, and the second one being x is equal to minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Okay, now when it comes to working out the values of a, b, and c, so let's say we have this quadratic equation. We use ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Now using this, we can establish our values for a, b, and c. So a is the coefficient of x squared, which is 4. B is the coefficient of x, which is minus 12. And c is the value that does not have an algebraic letter next to it, which is 4. Now using these values of a, b, and c, we can plug these into the quadratic formula to find two possible values of x. So let's dive into some questions to see how it works. You will notice that the question numbers are not consecutive and do not start from 1. This is simply because the question numbers refer to the Cherry Hill specific material, but do not worry if you do not have access to this, as I will still cover the concepts in full. So question 2, use the quadratic formula to find solutions for minus 5x squared minus 7x plus 2 is equal to 0. Now, whenever we have a question that asks us to use the quadratic formula, the first thing we need to do is write down the quadratic formula. So x is equal to minus b plus and minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. The next step is to find our values of a, b, and c. So a is minus 5, b is minus 7, and c is 2. Now that we have our values for a, b, and c, we can plug these into the quadratic formula to find our two values of x. So x is equal to minus b, and remember to always use brackets when making your substitutions, plus and minus the square root of b squared minus 4 multiplied by a, which is minus 5, multiplied by c, which is 2, all over 2 multiplied by a, which is minus 5. We can now expand the brackets to make this a little bit more simple. The minus 7 becomes a plus. And then we have minus 7 squared, which is 49, minus 4 multiplied by minus 5 multiplied by 2, which is minus 10, over 2 multiplied by minus 5, which is minus 10. So 49 minus 4 multiplied by minus 10, the double negatives give us a positive. So this simplifies to the square 7 plus and minus the square root of 49 plus 40, which is 89, all over minus 10. So let me just rewrite this here. We now have our two values of x. So x is equal to 7 plus the square root of 89 over minus 10, and x is also equal to 7 minus the square root of 89 all over minus 10. So quite straightforward. What I would like you to do now is to pause this video and try this question again without looking at my working out to see if you get the correct answer, and then press play so we can move to the next question. Question 7, use the quadratic formula to find solutions for minus 5x squared minus 12x plus 36 is equal to 0. So again, the question asks us to use the quadratic formula, so we need to write down the quadratic formula. The next step is to work out our values of a, b, and c. So a is equal to minus 5, b is equal to minus 12, and c is equal to 36. We now have our values of a, b, and c, and we can plug these into the quadratic formula to find our values of x. So remember to use our brackets. So x is equal to minus b plus and minus the square root of minus b squared. Sorry, not minus b squared, the square root of b squared minus 4 multiplied by a, which is minus 5, multiplied by c, which is 36. All over 2 multiplied by a. We can expand the brackets to make it more simple. So we have minus minus 12, the double negatives gives us a positive. We have minus 12 squared, which is 144, minus 4 multiplied by 5 multiplied by minus 36, which is minus 180, all over 2 multiplied by minus 5, which is minus 10. And minus 4 multiplied by minus 180 is plus 720 over minus 10. So again, we can simplify this a little bit more. So we have 144 plus 720, which is 864, all over minus 10. We can now find our two values of x. So x is equal to 12 plus the square root of 864 over minus 10, and x is also equal to 12 minus the square root of 864 over minus 10. So again, not too tricky. Try the question again on your own without looking at my working out to check if you get the right answers. Question 13, use the quadratic formula to find solutions for 3y squared minus y minus 9 is equal to 0. So the only difference here is that we are dealing with y's instead of x's, but this is exactly the same thing. So again, we need to write down the quadratic formula, which is x is equal to minus b plus and minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a. The next step is to find our values of A, B, and C. So A is the coefficient of x squared, but in this case it's y squared, which is 3. B is the coefficient of y, which is -1, and C is -9. Now that we have our values of A, B, and C, we can plug these into the quadratic formula to find our two values for y. So x is equal to -b. Again, make sure you do use your brackets when making substitutions. Plus and minus b squared minus 4 multiplied by a, which is 3, multiplied by c, which is -9, over 2 multiplied by a, which is 3. Now let's simplify this. We have minus 1, which gives us a positive 1, plus and minus -1 squared, which is 1, minus 4, multiplied by 3, multiplied by -9, which is -27, over 2 multiplied by 3, which is 6, 1 minus 4 multiplied by -27, so 27 multiplied by 4 gives us 108. So because of the double negatives here, it becomes a plus 108. Okay, and this is all over 6. This simplifies to 1 plus and minus the square root of 109 over 6. So our two values of x are, so x is equal to 1 plus the square root of 109 over 6, and x is also equal to 1 minus the square root of 109 over 6. Okay, so again, try these questions again on your own without looking at my working out to check if you get the right answer. So now we are moving on to expanding and comparing coefficients in order to find the values of a, b, and c. So in questions like this, the first thing we need to do is expand this part here. So let's rewrite this. X squared plus 2x minus 3 is equal to, so this is the same thing as this. So a multiplied by a is a squared. A multiplied by bx is plus abx. And then bx multiplied by a is plus abx. And then we have bx multiplied by bx, which is b squared x squared. Okay, so let's just rewrite this over here so it is clear what we have done. So the last step was bx multiplied by bx, which is b squared x squared. And then we have the plus c. Now let's group it so the coefficients are all together. So x squared plus 2x minus 3 is equal to, so let's start with the x squared. So the only thing in front of the x squared is b squared. So b squared x squared. Now let's move on to the x's. So we have ab and ab. So 2ab brackets x. And then anything without the coefficient of x or x squared goes at the end, which is plus c plus a squared. Okay, now by comparing coefficients, we can easily work out the values of a, b, and c. So let's start with x squared. So b squared should be equal to the coefficient of x squared, which is 1. So if b squared is equal to 1, this means that b is equal to the square root of plus and minus 1, which is just plus and minus 1. So you can actually take either plus 1 or minus 1, and you will end up with a different set of answers, which will both be correct. But in order to keep things simple, let's stick with the positive value. So b is equal to plus 1. Now that b is 1, we can move on to the coefficient of x. So 2ab should be equal to the coefficient of x, which is 2. So 2ab is equal to 2. We know what b is, so we can substitute this in, which means 2a is equal to 2. Now, if 2a is equal to 2, we can divide both sides by 2 in order to find our value of a, which is 1. Okay? So quite straightforward so far. Now let's move on to the last section here. So c plus a squared must be equal to minus 3. So we know what a is, so we can substitute this in. So minus 3 is equal to c plus 1. We can minus 1 on both sides, leaving us with minus 4 is equal to c. We have now solved for this, and we have our values of a, b, and c. So a is 1, b is 1, and c is minus 4. Okay? So not too many steps to follow. It should be quite straightforward. Pause this video and try the question again on your own to see if you get the same answer. Question 29, by expanding and comparing coefficients, find the values of a, b, and c. So we have 25x squared plus 10x minus 8 is equal to brackets a plus bx squared plus c. So 25x squared plus 10x minus 8 is equal to a plus bx squared, which can be written like this, plus c. We can now expand this. So 25x squared is equal to, so a multiplied by a is a squared. A multiplied by bx is a bx. Bx multiplied by a is a bx. And bx multiplied by bx is plus b squared x squared. And then we have our plus c. Okay, so now it's time to order these in terms of the coefficients. So 25x squared plus 10x minus 8 is equal to, so let's start with the x squared. The only thing in front of the x squared is this b squared here. So b squared brackets x squared. So we've done this. Let's now start with anything that has an x in, which is these two terms. So we have plus 2ab brackets x, and then anything else is at the end, which is a squared plus c, all in brackets. Okay? So now we need to compare the coefficients in order to work out the values of a, b, and c. So let's start with the x squared. So the coefficient of x squared on the left-hand side is 25 and is b squared on the right-hand side. So 25 is equal to b squared. This means that, so let's just change this around. B squared is equal to 25, therefore b is equal to plus or minus the square root of 25, which is plus and minus 5. Like I mentioned before, let's take the positive value to keep things simple, but you can use the negative value and get a different set of values, which will still be correct. So b is equal to 5. Okay, now let's move on to the coefficient of x. So we have on the right-hand side 2ab, and on the left-hand side 10. So 2ab is equal to 10. 2 multiplied by a multiplied by b, which is 5, as we worked out, is equal to 10. So this leaves us with 10a is equal to 10. We can divide both sides by 10 to get a on its own, leaving us with a is equal to 1. Now let's move on to the last value. So we have a squared plus c squared, which is equal to minus 8. A is 1, so we have 1 squared plus c is equal to minus 8. 1 plus c is equal to minus 8. We can minus 1 on both sides to get c on its own, leaving us with c is equal to minus 9. Okay, so we've worked out our values of a, b, and c. So a is 1, b is 5, c is minus 9. Okay, so hopefully that made sense and it is a little bit more clear. Again, I would recommend that you try this question again to check if you get the correct answer without looking at my working out.
Thank you for tuning in. Remember, practice makes perfect. Never give up. I will see you in the next tutorial.